Hey, hello guys, welcome to Network Beats. This is Tangadurai, and in this video, we are going to see and learn about what is BGP peer group. Okay, BGP peer group makes the configuration simple while doing it, but when do we apply and where do we apply, and how the peer group work, and those things that we are going to learn in this video. Let's consider the topology like you have router 1 here, router 2 here, let's say router 3, and also router 4 connected in one single AS. Okay, and you have the requirement that you are going to configure the BGP peering using their loopback IP addresses. R1 loopback IP address is going to pair with R2 loopback IP address, R1 with R3 loopback IP address, and R1 with R4 loopback IP address, right? So our configuration, how does it look like now? Let's go into R1, and what we will do will be saying, let's take a router BGP autonomous term number as 100, and what we'll say, like who is our neighbor, right? Let me say my neighbor is 2.2.2.2, and he'll be in the remote AS of the same 100. And also then what we would say, like then again we'll say neighbor 2.2.2.2 update source loopback 0, right, in order to maintain our neighborship from the loopback. And also for some authentication, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say neighbor 2.2.2.2, and I'm going to set some password. Okay, is Cisco 123. Also manually I'm going to say, and it is going to use the BGP the version, right? It is going to use 2.2.2.2. It is going to use the version of 4. And similarly I'm going to say for 3.3.3.3, and similarly I'm going to say it for 4.4.4.4, all these config. So we are using peer group, we can simplify this configuration. Okay, we don't want to keep on repeatedly saying the same properties again and again for each and every neighbor. Okay, because R1 is going to use the same property of remote AS100, update source loopback 0, and password Cisco 123 and version 4 with the neighbor R2, R3, and R4. All right. So in R1, what we are going to do, we are going to create a peer group. What happened? Sorry. Okay. Here we are going to create a peer group. Okay. Let's in peer group, I'm going to mention all these properties. Okay. Remote AS100, update to loopback 0, what is the password that I need to use, and what is the version. And I'm just going to apply this peer group for each and every neighbor while doing my configuration. How to do that? We'll go to the terminal and see. Okay, in my topology now, I don't have such number of peers. So in simple, I'm going to use router 5. Okay, I'm going to pair with router 3 using the same configuration, using peer group, not using the same like the method what we have used it before, like going to the neighbor 3.3.3 and saying manually everything. I'm not going to do that. So now I'm going to use peer group between router 5 and router 3. It doesn't mean that, okay, if you are using peer group on router 5, also you have to use peer group on router 3. Okay, just understand what is peer group. Peer group is, instead of saying things manually here, I'm just going to create one peer group template, and under the template I will be calling all these parameters of remote AS100, update source loopback 0, password, version, and these properties I will be applying to neighbor manually. Okay, both are logically same, but configuration wise it is different. Okay, the method of implementing it is different, but logically they are going to work like a same thing. So let's go to router 5. What I'm going to do, router BGP, here it is 35. Now I'm going to create a peer group. Okay, how to create a peer group? We have to say neighbor, and if you give question mark, we have to give some word which is a neighbor tag. That means which we'll be using this for the peer group. Here I'm going to say it is peer group. Okay, as the name. And if you see question mark, okay, there are a number of options which we don't need. Okay, here we are just going to say it is going to be our peer group. Okay, so if you guys get confused with the name, I'm just going to modify this as R5 peer group. It is the name of the peer group, okay, which I'm going to create, and then I have to say peer group, and that's it. Once I hit enter, my peer group R5 peer group is now created. Now under this, what I am going to do, I am going to define all these properties like remote AS. Now I am doing config between R5 and R3. Now my R3 remote AS would be 35. So I am going to define the remote AS here as 35, and I'm going to have a password which is Cisco 123. Okay, and also I'm going to peer using their loopback IP address. So let me also say update source loopback 0, and also I'm going to define the version as 4 manually. That's it. Okay, if you see, sure, and I'm sorry, we have to wait. Okay, meantime we'll go to R3 and we'll do the necessary configuration. Router BGP 35. Okay, and here my neighbor is going to R5, who is 5.5.5.5. Okay, and his remote AS is 35, and my neighbor 5.5.5.5 is going to use the password Cisco 123. If it is not matching, my neighborship is not going to come up. Then 5.5.5.5, I'm going to peer over my loopback, so my source also should be a loopback here. Then what else? I have to say 5.5.5.5 version 4. Okay, our BGP peer with R5 will not come up now. Why? Because, okay, you see here I had defined a peer group, correct? Okay, with all the properties of remote AS, password, update source loopback 0, version 4, but I haven't applied this peer group for any of the neighbors yet. Just we have defined the peer group. Until unless we are going to apply this peer group for any of the neighbor, these properties are not going to update to any neighbor. Okay, so here what I'm going to do, router BGP 35, and for neighbor, okay, who is my neighbor here, 3.3.3.3, and here I'm going to say the peer group, and what is my peer group name, R5 peer group. That's it. Once you hit enter, for this particular neighbor 3.3.3.3, okay, it will apply remote AS35, password Cisco 123, update to loopback 0, and version 4, and automatically your neighborship will also come up. Let's see. Okay, it's taking some time. Let me try reaching that. Source loopback 0. I think we don't have any reachability over here. So what I do, let me just have a static route on each router. Uh, 3.3.3.3, 255, 255, 255, 255. On my next stop, 35003 on R5, and same thing, IP route 5.5.5.5, and my next stop is 35005. Let's see our BGP will come up. Let me also, yeah. Now, once we have made the reachability, right? Now R3 and R5, right? See, our ping will work from our loopback because both know how to reach R3 and R5 loopback IP addresses. Then our TCP packet has come, like they have negotiated a three-way handshake, and then the BGP messages were exchanged, and finally all the parameters were good for them to make the neighborship up, and finally we can see our BGP adjacency has come up. Okay, show IP BGP summary. And I could see the neighbor from R3. I could see the neighbor 5 is up, and also I'm receiving one prefix which is up since past 42 seconds. Show IP BGP. Okay, here I'm seeing. Okay, we will come back to this. What is this R? Okay, the thing is like. Uh, 5.5.5.5 is the prefix which was advertised from router 5, isn't it? Right? So, from R3 perspective, it is also learning, it also has the route how to reach 5.5.5 through the static route. If I show you, show IP route, see here, I have a static route in place to reach 5.5.5. Also, it is learning via BGP, and since it is learning via IBGP, its AD value is going to be 200, and also have the path over static config static route. Its AD value is going to 1. So obviously static path is going to be the best path comparatively the BGP update. So this path will become invalid. Because of that, we are seeing a RIP failure. R means RIP failure, which is routing information base. So because of this, okay, this is not able to get it installed on the routing table, which is learned via BGP, since I have the best path already in my routing table for 5.5.5. That's fine. It does not make any issue while reaching 5.5.5. It is just preferring the static route rather than the BGP update. So that's it for R5 as of now. And also, similarly, if you want to update or configure peer group in such environment, okay, you can do that. You can practice this by doing your own lab by making this uh, topology, and also you have to manually configure the peer on R2, R3, R4. The peer group is just local for router 1. So that's it. Uh, Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.